y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortes NYC Livestream, the podcast. This show broadcasts twice a week out of New York City. We are your hosts, Cortes NYC.
En Carla de Puerto Rico.
And on the show, we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I'm a visual artist.
And I'm a singer.
And this is episode 54.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Spotify, and on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr.
And don't forget, I have an online store, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. I have posters, stickers, graffiti pins, original art, all kinds of stuff for you guys to log on, shop, and support an artist. And a big shout out to all our fans around the world. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. And let's get started. Oh, yeah. F your wall.
Great soundtrack.
F your
Sorry.
wall.
That's the name of this track.
That's the name of this track. F your wall. Fuck your wall.
Oh, by the way, guys, this the songs or background music that you're gonna be listening through this episode, you can find it on SoundCloud, right?
Yeah, it's true. Go to SoundCloud, Cortes NYC on SoundCloud. You can find these tracks.
And this album is called The Caravan.
The Caravan.
And that's why on this episode we're gonna talk about The Caravan on the second section of the episode.
There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the beginning, for the art talk section, I want to continue our museum tour. Yeah, I want to continue our museum talk. I think we're onto something good here. We should talk about museums.
Yeah.
Especially, I was thinking about it. Like maybe something that has that in my head is the fact that it's getting cold now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like museums, I actually enjoy museums on cold days more than the summer. I feel like the summer you want to go out and do things outdoors.
Yeah, I mean it's an excuse to go indoors and be warm and have a good time because there's different types of museums, you know. So there's museums that are a little bit more interactive, but if you're into history and art, you can enjoy a museum that is full of classic pieces as well.
True. So, continuing in our museum tour, we're going to talk this time about the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art. I would say probably, man, it's hard for me to shout out the MoMA because I don't know, it's not my favorite. But now looking at it right now that I sat down and said, let me search some information and get into it, I realized there are a lot of pieces of art that I grew to like at the MoMA.
Of course.
Even though I've always bashed it and said, I hate it.
I think maybe it was just like one or two floors of that type of art that you hate. But I think they do have a great collection.
Yeah. I mean, when I did on paper, yes, you can see all the names, the famous artists and the famous pieces, and yes.
And I feel like those are artists and pieces that will inspire your work.
Yeah, I gotta admit it, yes.
Yes, because it's the Museum of Modern Art, so.
Okay, fine. All right, now the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, I've gone not as much as the Met. But I have gone, let's say, 8 times in my life. And while the Met, I've probably gone freaking 30 times.
Yeah.
But the Museum of Modern Art, I've gone several times in my lifetime. There's been an evolution. Recently, there was, in the past, I think 10 years or something, or 15 years, there was a renovation. It is a museum that is several floors. It's Midtown. It's on 53rd Street.
Yeah, it's near my job now.
Oh, yeah. And I'll give you guys some facts about it. It was established, the Museum of Modern Art was established in 1929. 89 years ago, it says. Not as old as the Met, but still kind of old. I didn't think they was gonna be freaking 89 years old.
Yeah.
That's pretty old. That's incredible. I thought it was gonna be like from the 50s or something.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't think it was gonna be that far back. So like I said, the location, 53rd Street. The MoMA has been important in developing and collecting modernist art and is often identified as one of the largest and most influential museums of modern art in the world.
Wow.
MoMA's collection offers an overview of modern and contemporary art, including works of architecture, design, drawing, painting, sculpture, photography, prints, illustrated books, and artist books, film, and electronic media.
Even theater.
Yeah. The MoMA library includes approximately 300,000 books and exhibition catalogs, over 1,000 periodical titles, and over 40,000 files of ephemera about individual artists and groups, blah, 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 blah. The history starts, the idea for the Museum of Modern Art was developed in 1929, primarily by Abby Aldrich Rockefeller, wife of John D. Rockefeller, and two of her friends. They became known variously as the Ladies, the Darling Ladies, and the Adamantine Lady. I would love to be known as the Darling Ladies if I had all that money and I could start a museum, right? You can call me whatever you want.
Are they the same Rockefellers as the ones that...
Yeah.
At the Rockefeller Center?
At one time, that family created all kinds of cultural things throughout the city.
That also explains the location, because it's near also Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, they started this museum. I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown. They started this museum. It was great. It was amazing. A lot of different things. It evolved.
It was wonderful. Marvelous.
It was marvelous. These ladies were amazing. It had some renovations and whatever. On 53rd Street, it started there from the 1930s and 40s is what it describes. Because previous to that, they were renting spaces and doing different things in different places. So
like an exhibition that goes around. Okay.
Yeah, so 1930s, 1940s is when they finally were at 53rd Street. They talk about Picasso. They talk about a few different artists. They talk about an American Indian art exhibition that they had. That supposedly it was the first time they displayed American Indian art in a certain way, in a certain light, that changed the way people saw American Indian art.
Wow.
Also, 1958, there was a big fire on the second floor. It destroyed a whole bunch of stuff. 1969, the center of controversy because of Vietnam. They had some art pieces that were controversial. That's expected from a museum of modern art.
Of course.
I'm sure that made this museum stand out compared to the Met, that probably never had any controversy, right? Because it was safe art.
And more events, maybe like being a more vocal museum.
Correct. And then in 2011, MoMA acquired a building constructed and occupied by the American Folk Art Museum on West 53rd Street, adjacent to the museum. So they acquired a second building.
Okay.
And they expanded. And then 1983, the museum more than doubled its gallery and increased curatorial department by 30%. 1997, the museum undertook a major renovation and expansion designed by a Japanese architect. And that was, I guess this is the museum that we see now.
Right.
The museum was closed for 2 years in connection with the renovation, and it moved its public-facing operations to a temporary facility in Queens, Long Island City.
PS1.
Yeah, I'm sure you remember the thing in Queens. And then it reopened in 2004, and then that's it. And then the rest of it is history.
What we know now.
Yeah. And then just quickly here, some of the artists that are in there, Henry Matisse, Umberto Boccioni, Russo, Gauguin, Van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, Andy Warhol, Jackson Pollock, Pablo Picasso, Claude Monet, Francis Bacon. Just a whole bunch of artists.
Dali is there.
Dali's in there also.
Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo.
Yeah. All right, so that's enough about that. So, yes, great museum. It's been around a long time. Great history behind it. I didn't realize that it was around for so long.
Yeah.
I think maybe I took it for granted. The building is really nice. It's a work of art in itself.
Yeah. And now they have the outdoor section where sometimes...
Like a little sculpture garden out there, yeah.
They'll have exhibitions also in the outdoors. It's like a little balcony or so. And it's really cool.
Yep. So, going along with the way that I talked about the other museum, let's go through some of the pieces that I like from the museum. I'm not going to say these are my favorite pieces of all time. But I will say that they are interesting pieces that capture my attention, that whenever I think of this museum, I think of those pieces. And even in some cases, they're pieces that grew on me, that when I first saw them, I wasn't so attracted to it, but eventually they just become part of New York and part of your experience, and you just accept it, and you're like, all right, that's just part of my environment. So I'll start with my favorite one.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to the other ones. My favorite one is Persistence of Memory by Dali. Persistence of Memory is a painting from 1931 by Dali. One of his most recognizable works. It was first shown in the Julian Levy Gallery in 1932. Since 1934, the painting has been a collection in the museum. Since 1934, the painting has been in the collection of MoMA.
Wow.
Since 1934. It's been there
these years. And it was made in 1931, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that's why they considered the museum modern art, because at that time it was current things.
Yeah. That
they were acquiring.
And I imagine it was like the exclusive place for any modern artist to exhibit. I
mean, to be fair, there's a lot of pieces that we probably don't know about. Because they do have rotating exhibits of new art, and we probably don't realize that they're acquiring new pieces all the time.
No, but from the beginning, from that time, that's good to know.
Yep. So the piece was received by the museum by an anonymous donor. That's weird. It was an anonymous donor. It is widely recognized and frequently referenced in popular culture, and sometimes referred to by more descriptive, though incorrect, titles, such as the melting clocks, the soft watches, or the melting watches. But it's actually called the Persistence of Memory. It's a surrealist piece of art. It's a very small piece, oil on canvas. I remember that's one of the things that stayed in my head was when I first saw it in person, realizing how small it was. I kind of saw it in books over the years, and then when I finally went to MoMA and realized, oh, there it is. I had gone to MoMA and didn't even realize it was there.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
And then when I finally on one of the trips, I was like, oh wow, that's a Dali piece. That's that one. Then I walked up to it and I realized how tiny it is, and I was like, wow, I imagine this being so much bigger, and I think it's because of the way he painted it. The way he painted the piece, it's a little landscape, and he put so much detail into it that it gives you the illusion that it's a large, very large piece. What stands out about this piece is I think it's the mood, it's the environment. The melting clocks obviously are iconic, but I think to me, it's the space that is painted.
That's what I was going to say, because when you see the piece, it's almost like you're in a desert.
Yeah.
And it feels like you feel the dryness of time. And you feel like time is either not passing or it's being like consumed by the heat of the environment. I don't know. There's something there.
On the topic of the soft melting pocket watches, a description here says, the soft watches are an unconscious symbol of the relativity of space and time, a surrealist meditation on the collapse of our notions of a fixed cosmic order. That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Basically, time passing, time is not real, it's relative. So these soft or melting watches, or these soft watches that are like little drape soft watches, is kind of taking away the power of time. Time is not a rigid thing.
Right.
Time is a flexible thing.
Right.
But yeah, I like this piece. Very nice piece. Salvador Dali, one of my favorite artists. And I think the only thing that topped this was when I went to see Dali's pieces in Florida, and I saw the bigger pieces, and then I was like, wow, I got the big picture of more of his work.
Yeah, I want to go to his museum.
Yeah, we gotta go. But yeah, I think this is one of the pieces from the MoMA that I appreciate.
Yeah.
I've used that word. I definitely appreciate that it's at the MoMA and that it's at, in a couple of hours.
In your neighborhood.
Yeah, in my neighborhood. An hour away, I can go right over there and check it out.
That's a luxury.
Yeah, that's a luxury. All right, so that's that piece. The next one that I would speak of is this is one that grew on me. Okay, this is called The Sleeping Gypsy by Henry Rousseau. It's from 1897. It's a very quiet piece, I want to say. It's similar to Dali's piece in that it's a landscape that looks like a desert, and I think there might be a continuation of a theme in there in my head, right?
Yes.
The Sleeping Gypsy is created by Henry Rousseau in 1897, which is a lot before Dali. With a mysterious poetry, the lion visits the gypsy woman and her mandolin in this masterful composition that somehow employs hard lines and flattish perspectives to great advantage. In The Sleeping Gypsy, Rousseau portrays an African gypsy in a desert wearing an oriental costume. She lies beside an Italian stringed instrument and a jar of water. These items each have significant importance to the cultures in which they belong. The oriental frog, the mandolin are customary to the respective Asian and Italian cultures. However, Rousseau decides to mix them all together in his own painting. It's a cultural mixed bag of imagery.
Yeah.
Especially with the African gypsy and the lion.
And the lion.
I like the mood. I like the fact that she's laying down sleeping. I like the fact that it's mysterious. You don't really know what's going on. It feels surreal. I don't think it's under surrealism, but it feels surreal because you just feel like you're in a dream state when you're looking at it. You feel like this is like a weird image, like what's happening here. I think the scale is pretty big also. It's a good size. But I think the way that it's rendered is really nice. It's flat. It has a little bit of three-dimensionality, but it's like, I would say like a 2D/3D.
Yeah.
It's got a slight rendering, but it's not trying to be realistic or dimensional. But yet there's a sense of space. The colors are nice. The tonality of it, the earth tones and all that. I think this is one of the first pieces that I saw where I really felt color.
Yeah.
Not in a cartoon way, but in a quote unquote fine art way. This is the first time that I saw like those earth tones, like those Arizona colors. And
because it's not completely 3D, the details of like texture and stuff like that, you get it because of the colors that he used. Yeah, this is very nice. It looks cultural. It looks like a cultural piece. I've seen Latin American paintings that look like this. So maybe there's something to that also. Yeah. But it's a nice piece. So The Sleeping Gypsy at the MoMA. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about, and I know I'm running through these, but I'm not as... What? Because I don't, these pieces are not close to me. Okay. So I really have to read the facts on it because these pieces are odd to me. Yeah. They attract me. I memorize them. I kind of have them in my head, but I don't know the details. Yeah. You feel passionate about. Exactly. So I have to really read through it. And I'm learning right now as I'm reading through this. So, all right. So this next one, I would say definitely grew on me. When I first saw it, I had no interest. And now that I look at it, I appreciate it. And this one's called Number 31 by Jackson Pollock. It's from 1950. So Jackson Pollock, everybody knows who Jackson Pollock is. Everybody knows his style. He's the guy who does the splatter painting. He calls his technique drip art. And it's a style of painting where he laid down the canvas on the floor and he would, drip paint and make all these splatters. And he would go in coats of different colors. So he would choose let's say 4 colors, and he would just overlay drips until they would start to create textures and patterns and things like that. Right. And rhythms. It's a very big painting. It's exciting to look at when I look at it now, especially that graffiti artists have taken on some of this kind of symbolism and the splatter technique. When I look at it now, I see where street artists have been inspired by this. Yeah.
So it's got a little more of a connection or familiarity to me when I see it. So quickly, I'll say Jackson Pollock was at the height of his career when he made number 31, 1950. One of 3 wall-sized paintings he produced in swift succession in the summer and fall of 1950. It is a field of densely interlaced threads of paint offset by pools and splashes of color. He began by laying canvas on the floor and pouring, dribbling, and flicking enamel paint onto its surface, sometimes straight from the can or with sticks, stiffened brushes. He would also convey paint onto his canvas by punching holes at the bottom of the paint cans and squeezing it directly from the tubes, and even using a turkey baster. Although he was not the first to explore liquid enamels, Pollock harnessed their physical properties, and more dramatically than ever before, his interest in the surrealist embrace of chance and accident, which sparked his initial experiments with the effects of gravity and momentum and falling paint, led him to the style that would become synonymous with his name. He also drew from European artists who dripped paint in their work, including Hans Hofmann and from Navajo sand painting. But as Pollock maintained, focus should be directed at the work of art itself. Technique is just a means of arriving at a statement, he once said. All right. Okay. So, what can I say? The piece is big. It's very simple in color, which I think that's why when I first saw it, I wasn't attracted. I think as I got older and I became more sophisticated in seeing the use of color is when I could appreciate how he used these, like, they're almost like camouflage colors, because he's using like sand and green and black and white. He's using like the military colors, which are kind of people associated with nature and all that. But when I see it, I see camouflage.
Yeah.
And I think the motion, people get really, they romanticize the motion and the splatter and all that. But I just think that he created some interesting line work. I agree with his last statement there. I just read it now, but I agree with that it's not really about the technique. It's about what's the statement. And I think when you see this painting and you see the webbing that he created, it's like this interwebbing of paint. It's not that far removed from what you see when you see a tapestry on a wall that is woven, like a woven texture.
Yeah.
And
what he said is related to graffiti, because it's not about the style of art, but it's about what you want to say.
True.
With your art.
Good point, Carla. Good point. All right. Now, we're running out of time, but the last one. The last one from the MoMA that I would say stays in my head is a piece called Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth, 1948. This piece is interesting and it stays in my head because a lot of cinematographers, directors, I've heard them refer to this painting. People have imitated the look of this painting, the scenery of the woman it's like a woman on a grass field. Like it's burnt grass, and it's like with a house in the distance on the horizon. Again, the horizons and the landscapes, right? I guess there's something there that stays in my head.
Yeah.
But this image has actually been replicated in movies, like paid homage to in movies, and I think that stays in my head. That I guess the drama of the image.
Yeah.
And the colors. I think the colors are great. All right, let's go quickly through the description. The woman crawling through the tawny grass was the artist's neighbor in Maine, who, crippled by polio, I didn't know that, that's crazy, was limited physically but by no means spiritually. Wyeth further explained, the challenge to me was to do justice to her extraordinary conquest of life, which most people would consider hopeless. He recorded the arid landscape, rural house, and shacks with great detail, painting minute blades of grass, individual strands of hair, and nuances of light and shadow. In this style of painting known as magic realism, everyday scenes are imbued with poetic mystery.
Magic realism, remember we talked about it?
True.
In another episode.
True. So this one's Christina's World, Andrew Wyeth.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think, let me see if I could find real quick. But so what do you think about this, Carla?
Well, I think it's great. I wanted to tell you guys, if you guys are in New York visiting, or if you are from New York, MoMA has free admissions on Fridays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So go by, enjoy the museum for free on Fridays evenings. So that's always great to know. There's a lot of museums that we're gonna be talking about that they have that, for you, that is free.
Well, just look quickly. If you do a quick search, you'll find that Terrence Malick, he did some things that were inspired by some images. He's a director, and he did some images that were inspired by this painting. They have a list of like 15 films that were inspired by this painting, and by different art pieces. But definitely, this image I know is one that people have referred to and said, yeah, that painting has inspired, imagery. I think the last thing I'll say is the MoMA is not for everybody. A lot of people are, have a reservation to go in and seeing it. They feel it's boring. They feel modern art is boring. I agree with them. A lot of modern art is boring, but I do appreciate it. And over the years, I think I've appreciated more. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out and give it a chance. Keep trying to. It's an acquired taste.
Sepárame los tiempos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2.
Yeah, Remy Martin. No, culture talk.
Culture talk.
What do we got, Carla?
On this culture talk, we're gonna be talking about the Migrant Caravan that is coming up north.
The horde of invaders that are invading. Oh my God!
So,
the rapists and killers and what else? What are they?
The zombies.
The zombies, yeah, zombies.
Zombies that are coming with diseases.
With polio and
polio and ¿cómo se
the
llama?
Black Plague and
yeah, todo eso, varicela. Yeah. So like I said on the section before, we're gonna be talking about the Migrant Caravan. I'm gonna give you guys some facts about it.
Please do.
And then we can maybe discuss what we have heard in the news and what is our view about it.
Yeah, because I'm very scared and I just need to stop considering it an invasion. So please teach me.
Exactly.
Teach me what are these people.
They're right here. Like they're gonna be here in any minute.
They're downstairs in the lobby.
Yeah.
They're trying to get up into the building. All right,
exactly.
So help me out, please.
So thousands of migrants from Central America say they are fleeing persecution, poverty, and violence in their home countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador.
Okay.
They're starting coming together on October 12th when there was a group of around 160 people at a bus terminal in Honduras.
Okay.
And then a former politician made the plan viral. Basically, he posted it on Facebook, and more people got together in that group, and that's when the group reached almost 1,000 people. And then when they were setting off, there was, like I said, 1,000 Honduras that joined this caravan. So the ones moving faster are a group of more or less 400 migrants that are mainly men and boys. And they reach the Mexico capital, Mexico City, on Sunday, November 4th. So on November 4th, they got to Mexico. Do you really think they were going to be here by November 8th, which was the idea that Donald Trump was trying to put out there? But obviously not.
But they won't because they're too lazy, right?
Exactly.
Why don't they just pick up the speed? Start running.
Some of the information I found, it says that in Honduras there's endemic problems with gun violence, drug wars, and corruption. And this is why the wider region has one of the highest murder rates in the world.
That's crazy.
So that's why our people are fleeing, because they fear for their life, they fear for their families, and sometimes there's no other escape. They just have to really just grab their things and go.
Yeah.
Like, why is it? I mean, it's not logical for someone to leave everything they know and go to a place where everything is unknown and you don't even know what the possibilities are.
And you're not coming. The misconception that these people are coming to invade is like ridiculous. These people are not like gearing up, training for a year, getting their food together, their money together, getting their weapons together, getting.
It's not a militia.
No, they're not prepared for this. They're leaving running.
Yeah.
With whatever they can grab.
Exactly.
You don't do that unless you're really running from something.
Exactly.
To assume anything else is to assume these people are ridiculous, or that they have no brain.
Yeah. So, but this caravan is not the only one coming up north. There are several caravans. The first and biggest one is the one that left San Pedro Sula, Honduras, in October 13, but two smaller ones have formed since.
Wow.
And the hot weather means that there's a lot of sunburn and dehydration, and this is a risk that they're taking by trying to cross the borders, because they have to cross border from Guatemala to Mexico, then Mexico to United States to get here. And you know that region in Mexico, it's all deserts.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. And then a little bit of information in the asylum program that there is internationally and then in United States.
Okay.
It says that there is a legal obligation to hear asylum claims from migrants who have arrived in the United States if they say they fear violence in their homes.
Right.
Those seeking asylum must be fleeing due to serious fear of persecution under international law. These are considered refugees. Even if they're coming illegally,
right,
they have to be heard. This is a law.
I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, but I did hear some conversations about this, and there is this misconception that these people are trying to either sneak into this country, or attack this country, right? Attack the border.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just gonna show up and ask for asylum.
Yeah.
They're gonna show up and talk to the people at the border and say, "Hey, I need asylum."
Yeah.
And I believe the problem is that the politicians that are against this, they just want to deny them asylum.
Yeah. So the other problem is that, and I have it here, it says, but if seeking a better quality of life, they are not considered refugees and do not have the same protection. So let's say if someone comes within that group and they say, oh no, I'm just running up here because I'm poor in my country.
Right.
They might not receive the same protection as if I'm running because somebody can kill me.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe talk a little more about that towards the end. But that goes into the thing of, okay, whether you came here because you're a refugee or you came here because you're just looking for a better life, you still have to be processed.
Be heard.
Yeah, you have to be heard. You still have to be you're a human being. You're not attacking anybody.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it more, but it's like that's where it gets angry. We get frustrated there.
We can start talking about it now because I was thinking about the situation, and I was thinking about some documentaries that I've seen, some movies that I've seen that are based on these countries in Africa that are fighting each other, and their genocide happening on those areas. And I know that the UN has some teams that they help legally, they help with food, they help with some houses that are not stable, but at least they try to keep families together.
Right.
So I'm wondering what's happening with the UN and their view of, helping humanity and helping everybody to have the rights and to be heard. Where are they, and why is it that they're not moving into, like, say, Mexico, or let's move into United States in the border?
Right.
Let's start getting some lawyers that speak Spanish, because that's going to be a problem. And let's try to keep families together, because more than being legal or illegal or being Republican or Democrat or all that shit, it's more like they're human beings, and these are human beings. So you cannot treat them as if it's a family of dogs and one dog got lost. It's humans. So that's where, when I read this information, I was like, well, if it's so obvious, it's an international law. Where is the international organizations in
trying
this?
to support
Yeah. It's just all weird to me. And if it's happening, why is it's not being reported?
I totally with you. I so frustrated and so angry at the audacity of some of the statements.
Yeah.
Specifically at the president. Where I remember when he said something about, like, he's sending the military, he's deploying the military, and he's going to consider, even if they throw rocks, he's going to consider it a gun. He's going to consider it a weapon. And he's going to consider it an assault. And then he was, I don't remember his exact phrasing, but he was almost sanctioning shooting back.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And that right there is just like...
So you want to kill them all?
Oh, that's just the... We're living in crazy times where politicians don't even hide their intentions.
No.
They just say what they really want to say, huh? They just
exactly.
say, like, I just want to shoot them. Give me any excuse. Basically, he was saying, give us any excuse to shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. I don't want to hear them. Give me any excuse just to shoot them. And I'm going to line up like a firing squad. I'm going to line up my troops along the border for the purpose of confrontation.
Yeah.
Just like they did with the police, the militarized police, when Black Lives Matter did their protests, or did their not even protests, because they were just walks or demonstrations. Yeah. And they would send over militarized police to create a confrontation. Yeah. With the intention to confront.
Yeah.
Under the premise of, we're just trying to keep the peace.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how they're handling the military. And I think that's where... I don't think they would do that in other places. No. Is the part that gets so frustrating. I don't think the United States would do that in other countries, on other lines, with interacting with other people.
Let's say if it was the border with Canada, and you got a bunch of Canadians coming down the border, you really are gonna be like, oh, I'm ready here with the fucking military, and I'm gonna shoot them all if they throw rocks. It's like, yeah, I don't believe you. It's all because
but even like you were just talking about it, Africa, or other continents, or other places where there are even in the Middle East. I don't even think in the Middle East we handle borders with that kind of like disregard. For people. I think they're handled more carefully. Like, I don't want to cause a situation. Here it's like, oh no, we have some roaches.
No, exactly.
We have roaches coming up. How do we just get rid of them?
But I've heard that. I didn't hear that. I read a headline on Facebook from an article, and it was saying that a veteran was saying that that's not true. The way that Donald Trump is trying to handle the situation is not the way that they will handle that kind of situation if they were in the war in the Middle East. That, like you just said, that they don't want to create a bigger problem because you don't know who is around, and you don't want to create a global situation where you actually are creating, and you're killing innocent people, and then that's gonna go everywhere they're gonna know what happened in, let's say, in that country in the Middle East.
We criticize other countries who have dictators who do things like this. Who cleanse their borders. Right. Cleanse, you know what I mean? They have the They call it ethnic cleansing.
That's what they want to do.
That's what they want to do, and they want to do it. They wanted to do it quietly, and now they're doing it blatantly,
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
But it's obvious what they want to do. They want to do some ethnic cleansing. They want to cleanse, if they have them coming, they want to get them. They don't want them crossing borders, and they want to get them out of this country.
Yeah. And they
in whatever
want
way
to
possible.
demonize them by saying, "Oh, there's ISIS in the group. There's people from the Middle East in the group. They're coming prepared, basically as if they're coming to war. They're saying that there's people from MS-13 in the group, which, to be fair, I do think that they might be people
There might be.
in that group that
But-
are coming with other intentions, but that's why we have trials, and that's why we have investigations. We cannot just judge everybody because of one small group of people.
But at the same time, even if you did have gang members in the group, even if you had a gang member that is fleeing,
Yeah.
it might be a gang member that's fleeing, but he's fleeing. He probably doesn't want to be in a gang anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
You know what I mean? Like,
if
it's
you
still a
say,
human being.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's
the
what
part
I'm
that,
saying.
It's like crazy. It's like, oh, gang member. All right, no, that's it for life.
Right.
Anywhere you go, that's it. And it's
Right.
like, well, it's just a gang, dude.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know why they demonize them to the point where they're like it's a country. Like it's an entity that we're at war with. Where they used to do the same thing to the Colombian cartel. Like Colombians, part of the cartel. Cartel, it's like its own entity. We're at war with drugs. We
Yeah.
have a war with drugs, and anybody who is even associated with any drugs or any Latin American countries or Colombia, drug dealers, and it's a war on them. But a war on who? And I can be selling drugs for a month and then maybe stop.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Or I can be in the drug game by association
Yeah.
and then leave it. Or maybe the people, I'm sure half the people in it don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it when you have that extreme prejudice, like we're at war with something, you don't allow people to change, to kind of change course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And I can imagine if we're frustrated just watching from a distance, I can't imagine what these people must be like. And they're gonna come up to a border with a clash of these like over militarized people ready to like
Yeah.
God knows what.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have, for sure, freaking sideline couch potato fucking militia showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the part that just just stops me from talking, because I just have a real bad feeling that he's energizing people on the border, not military.
That's what I was thinking
to
too.
show up and
shoot, because they're gonna shoot. They're not gonna think about the,
exactly, and they're gonna say
repercussions.
they're gonna say that they're defending the border, that they're American patriots. That's why he worded it that way.
Yeah.
That's why he called it the Patriot whatever the fuck
Yeah.
campaign. And that's why he worded it like, yeah, they throw rocks, shoot, because he wanted to open up that imagination into the people.
Yeah.
To let them know, yeah, it's okay to go and do that.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like he's setting up there's so many different ways he could have handled this.
Yeah.
So many different ways to handle this.
It's just and the worst part that
I think this is one of those episodes where I just can't even finish a sentence.
I know.
Because I'm trying to say something and I'm like, I don't
shouldn't
have the
say
words.
that.
I want to hit something. I don't have the words for this.
the worst part about it is that so I watched a debate between Cenk from the Young Turks and a Republican commentator from Fox News, or I don't remember his name, but they were talking about the caravan, and the Republican was saying that why is it that we are accepting people basically that are poor, and that's basically what he was saying is, well, if we are bringing people that are poor, that's making us even more poor because we have to give them too, and then you create some states that they're not rich enough because then we have this poor population in here. And I was like, I cannot believe that you just said that, like, just blunt like that. Like, oh, why don't we have people coming in that give something to the United States, you know, and that they come in legally? And I'm like, loco, but I understand that the United States doesn't have to help every single poor person or poor country in the world, but you do have to agree that the United States takes advantage of a lot of these poor countries.
Well, I don't have facts here in front of me, and I'm not gonna research all this because it's a lot. But I've heard plenty of commentators explaining that this is a problem created by the United States. Because on this hemisphere, in the Americas, the United States has created the most instability amongst Latin American countries, especially Central America.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that everybody is coming here.
It's not a surprise.
Because if you go over there and you finance a person that is going to take all the money for their ideas, and they're not going to, you know, they're not going to manage politics and the economy of the country correctly, then you should know that at the end you're gonna have these people going into your country.
And if you go to another country and you plant flags and you show your military over there and you show that you're the strongest, the most righteous country,
who do you think they want to be?
Yeah, they're gonna come here because you planted your flags over there and said, hey, we're here, we're the best. All right, so now I'm gonna go to your country
and I'm gonna be the best.
I want to be the best with you guys. So like, I don't understand why are Americans so blind to that. Like, if you go to your neighbor's house and plant your flag and say, my house is better, believe me, I'll be going to your house on Christmas. I'll be going to your house on Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Leave other countries alone.
And educate yourself. Research. Read.
And if this caravan does come up here, help them out.
Yes.
Have a little mercy. Have a little humility. Have some pity.
You wanted me to teach you, right? This is street reality.
Tomando Remy.
Exacto.
Y hablando español.
Okay, hablando español. How do you say watch?
Watch. Oh, that's a good one. We haven't said this one yet. This is one that everybody should be. This is actually really good. All right, watch. So we're not saying watch like watchtower, like watching over the horizon.
No.
We're saying watch like a clock.
Yes.
Right, like
a
telling
clock,
time.
Yeah.
Okay. So watch. This is one that all my fellow Americans listening to me here on this podcast, on the Cortesnyc Livestream podcast, should know this word. So watch is reloj.
Yes.
When I say the word, I don't even know where that word comes from. Reloj. Because
Reloj, yeah.
I never even thought about what is it. Yeah, what does it mean? Like reloj. But reloj is clock, right? Because it's not really watch, it's clock. Because you have reloj.
Yeah.
Watch is like your wristwatch, but a clock is on the wall.
Yeah, reloj.
But it's all in Spanish, reloj. But I bet you there's another one and we don't know it.
Most likely, yeah.
Right. And what about time?
Time is tiempo.
Tiempo. So time is tiempo, and watch or clock is reloj.
Yes. How do you say?
Yes. Caravan?
No, the name of Dali's piece was?
Persistence?
How do you say persistence?
Memory of persistence? The persistence of memory, exactly. The persistence of memory. Persistence? In Spanish?
Yeah.
Do you know it?
Yeah.
Shit, I've never had to say persistence. But I'm gonna take a guess. Persistence is persistencia.
How do you know?
Because I'm awesome. Really? Persistencia.
Yes.
La persistencia de memoria.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say how do you say memory, but
Memoria. So the persistence of memory is
la persistencia de la memoria.
la persistencia de la memoria. All right, I'm going to have to confess something to you guys out there.
What?
All you listeners, we're on episode 54, and I have to confess this.
What?
I'm bilingual. I don't know a lot of words. I'm taking guesses at a lot of words.
And you get it?
I nail them because
Why?
I think the secret to it is I understand first of all, I understand the vowels. I am perfectly fluid in converting English vowels to Spanish vowels. So when I think of how it's spelled,
Yeah.
I can convert it and then I can say it, and hopefully it's the same word,
Yeah.
but with the different vowels, sounds. But then also there are some suffixes and prefixes to words that I can guess, that I know and I can
Because
guess
you know it from other words.
from other words, and I can associate it and say by association it
Right.
must be this word. And I think we're here on episode 54, and if you guys have been following us this far and you've been listening to every single episode, like I know all of you have, you know, in learning Spanish, hablando español, you will begin to develop that skill.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you make a breakthrough. Also in English, and you're learning English, that's when you make that breakthrough to bilingualism. Is when you crack the code of the vowels, how to translate the vowels sounds, and then also the prefixes and suffixes. Once you understand those things, it's very easy to start to build words in your mind.
Yeah.
And then when somebody hits you with a word, or you're forced to say a word, you can figure it out.
True. So then now,
Yes.
how do you say 31?
You give me some easy ones. 31.
Yeah.
31.
Oh, good. How do you say association?
Association. Association is asociación.
Yes.
Asociación.
Yes.
Okay, got you.
How do you say caravan?
That one I don't know. That's why I threw it out there. Caravan. How do you say caravan? Caravan?
Caravana.
What?
Caravana.
Caravana. Okay.
Una caravana.
Una caravana. What is caravan used the way that it's being used in these current news cycles?
No, because
Caravana?
I mean, you could, but when I've heard caravana, it's more like, you know, when you have like festivals or politicals, when politics go to the streets and they're in a car and they're like talking to, I don't know if they don't do that here, I think, but back in Puerto Rico, politicians will go to the streets and they will go through your neighborhood and they will be talking and speaking loud with loudspeakers and everything to get votes. And we'll say that's a caravana, como like,
Gotcha.
like almost like a parade.
Right.
When in a parade you have those cars that are very decorated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we call a caravana.
Okay.
How do you say migrant?
Migrant. Bueno, inmigrante is an immigrant.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between inmigrante y migrant?
Yeah.
So how do you say migrant?
Migrante. It's not that big, but
I fell for that one. Migrante. Okay.
Yes. How do you say refugee?
Refugee. Man, you said this one and I already. Refugio.
Refugee. Refugio is.
Refuge. Damn. Refugee is I don't know.
But it's near. Refugiado.
Refugiado. Refugiado. Okay. Refugiado.
And how do you say asylum?
Asylum. Asilo.
Asilo o refugio.
Asilo o refugio. Alright, guys. Gracias, Carla, por enseñarme mucho el español.
De nada.
Estoy hablando muy bien ahora.
Sí, ahora sí hablas bien. Finalmente. Tomó 5 años.
All right, another episode in the bag, Carla.
Yes.
Another bilingual caravan speaking episode in the back. Listen, if you guys out there are part of the caravan, there's a lot of people
really
out there.
Think?
There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
One of them, and we have listeners from down in Latin America.
Yeah, it's true, it's true.
So if one of you listeners out there is part of the caravan coming up,
Yes.
if you happen to be a bilingual, if
Exactly.
you maybe you were born in Honduras or something, and
Or
you
El Salvador.
or in Salvador, and you're like, you know, bilingual, and you're like, I always wanted to come to the United States, and you're part of the caravan,
Yeah.
and you're listening to this podcast, believe us that we're here for you.
Shout us out.
And shout us out. No, but keep the faith, man. All right.
Yeah.
And see you guys next episode.